Next.
Okay.
Bi'ur Mishnah. So the explanation of the Mishnah, we are Mishnah Chet. 8 Mishnah. משנתנו מוסיפה ללמד על 3 דברים שנחלקו בהם רבי אליעזר בן עזריה וחכמים. We finished with Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. Yeah, and now we're going to continue with Rabbi Eliezer ben Elazar ben Azariah. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah also disagreed with the sages, also in 3 things. So let's continue. 3 דברים, since we're talking about things that the sages are different than 3 דברים רבי אלעזר בן עזריה מתיר וחכמים אוסרים. So 3 things Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah permits and the sages prohibit, ואלו הם. And these are the ones. Number 1, פרצו יוצאה ברצועה שבין קרניה. His cow goes out with a chain, let's call it, around the horns. Let's explain what's going on over here. What do you mean goes out? What's the problem? לרשות הרבים, it goes out from one domain to another domain. It goes out to the public domain, בשבת, on Shabbat. It says, okay, let's understand what's going on. We already learned the laws of Shabbat. ואומנם we learned, האדם מצווה מן התורה על שביתת בהמתו בשבת. You have a commandment that your animals are not allowed to work on Shabbat. But what's the problem? She's not working. She's going out. She's walking. Exactly. So therefore, אסור לו לתת לבהמתו שתצא בשבת לרשות הרבים בדבר שהוא מסע על גופה. So anything that is extra to the animal, in other words, it's carrying, that's job. Carrying is a melacha. So it's not allowed to carry anything for you. Because once you're allowed to carry, you're going to use it for carrying. Yeah?
She carry it for herself.
Oh, the question is this thing considered for you or for her? You remember we did it in Shabbos. I'm going to say, is it an adornment? Yeah. Is it a jewelry for her? Or is it for you to hold and hold it? In other words, why is the chain there? I know it's nice, but did you put it there for people to pull her? Then it's for you, it's not for her. If you put it for niceness, then it's for her. Over here we have a thing that is both. It's nice and you can pull. So the Chachamim say, since it's both, we don't allow you. So Rabbi Elazar says, we allow you as long as it's also jewelry. Yeah? It's also jewelry. It's also for her, then we allow you. That's a disagreement. Okay? אלא שרבי אלעזר בן עזריה התיר שתצא הפרה ברצועה שבין קרניה, but רבי אלעזר בן עזריה permitted, because why? העשויה ללנוי. Because it says it's not made for you to pull. It's made for her to look nice. It's true, you can also pull with it, but that's not its purpose. Its purpose, it's for her, so the animal can have an earring. You know, it looks nice. ברם, חכמים אסרו בה גם רצועה של הנוי. The sage says, I don't care, you can make a fancy leash. That doesn't mean that it stopped being a leash. It's leash with diamonds. Okay, so what? It's a leash. It's a leash. What do you say? It's for her. It's not for her, it's for you. You know, he's saying, who makes leash for diamonds? Are you crazy? Obviously it's for her, it's to make her beautiful. Yeah, and we by him, right? Yeah. And obviously we're talking about over here. It's not an animal for eating. It looks like there's some animals are for noi. It's like a noi animal, you know. So this animal is for noi. It's for beauty. You put it out in the yard. It's like a peacock. You know, it's like a peacock. You know, a peacock is not a chicken. A chicken is for eggs. A peacock is to look nice. So it says this cow was a peacock cow. It was there not to eat. It was there not to use. It was there not to work in the field. It was there because it was beautiful. You're not going to use a beautiful cow that's for a peacock to plow the land. You're going to use the tractor to plow the land. The other cow, not this one. It had, you know, looked nice, whatever it is, okay? לפי שאין כל הפרות רגילות בכך. It says, no. הרי זה נחשב כמסע. So the Chachamim says, look, if it's a thing for a cow, you cannot make it fancy. The Chachamim say, you cannot make it fancy and call it now, this is jewelry. No, if it is a use of
All the cows have this.
As a use,
And then you put a few diamonds.
it's a
Can't fool us.
video, exactly. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's true that we know that what you meant, and we understand that it's for her, but still, we can't make these divisions. בגמרא מובאת ברייתא, the Gemara goes to tell us even deeper on the story. It says, Paratoyot, if you remember in the beginning, it says his cow went out with this chain around the horns. So the Gemara says it was never his cow. He will never let his cow do it. Yeah? He will never let his cow do it. But that's the system he held. So why did it say his cow? So the Gemara says, לא הייתה שלו, לא שלו הייתה, it wasn't his cow. לא הייתה זו פרתו של רבי אלעזר בן עזריה. He would never do it. אלא של שכנתו הייתה. It didn't belong to him, it belonged to his neighbor. So the question is, why did they call it his cow? So because, ומתוך שלא מיכה בה נקראת על שמו. And since we see that he did not tell his neighbor, he would never do such a thing. But he didn't rebuke her for doing it, that's the problem. And why? Why didn't he rebuke her for doing it? Because he thought, if she did it for Noi, it's not necessarily, I wouldn't want to do it, personally. But is it allowed? It's allowed. That's what he held. And because the reason why he called his cow, because everybody, he allowed it. Yeah, but it's not that he did it. Yeah, in other words, he allowed it. The fact that he allowed it was the problem, even though he never did it. So that's one thing. Do we have a similar case today? Yeah, we have a similar case today. Okay, you want to see a similar case today? In halacha, we have a similar case. One is not allowed to carry on Shabbos, right? I'll give you to what extent. For example, a woman is allowed to carry a watch, to walk around with a watch on Shabbos. So it says, why is a woman allowed to walk with a watch on Shabbos? It says it because for a woman it's jewelry. It's considered jewelry. And it says, how do you know? It says, go and make, it's easy to know if it's jewelry or not. The question is, if the watch is not working, would a lot of women still wear it? And the answer is yes. A lot of women still. My wife all the time used to tell Angela. You remember Angela? Yeah. He used to tell Angela, none of her watches work. And she always wore them. I'm talking about the regular day. Yeah. She asked her, why you ever watch? She has to ask her, what's the time? She said, I don't know, the watch doesn't work. She says, why do you wear it? What do you mean? It fits, you see. She had different watches for different clothing. It's jewelry. Men would not wear a watch that doesn't work as jewelry. It's not, even if it's fancy watch.
In the old time, today, women's exactly.
Yeah, but not as jewelry. He would not.
As jewelry.
Yeah. But if it doesn't work.
If he doesn't have a Rolex and this Rolex doesn't work, he doesn't carry it work, he has a Rolex, that's it.
I don't.
Men's too. I tell you.
Okay. Maybe men became women, but men, it's not a man's attribute. So the answer is. No.
Rolex, it's a terrible watch. It doesn't give you hardly the time right and this, and they still everybody walk and love it.
Yeah, but it's because it works. They're not going to wear it if it doesn't work. Okay, maybe we can discuss it some other time. If he wears it. Yeah, but if it completely doesn't work, I don't think so. But if it completely doesn't work, he's not going to wear it. Yeah, that's the way between men and women. Okay. So the halacha today is that what happens if a man wears a watch on Shabbos? So the rule is, yeah.
He can't do it as a jewelry, right? Or he can.
Okay.
It's a woman.
Exactly. No, but it's men's. You cannot say it's a men's watch.
No.
It's a men's watch. Yeah. So it says lo tzarich limchot. There's halacha. You don't need to rebuke him. He's doing it. You shouldn't do it. But the question is, you don't need to rebuke him. That's the same thing that we learned over here. He thought, yeah, I'm not going to do it, but I don't need to rebuke her. Yeah, it's true that you shouldn't wear, a man shouldn't wear, if somebody asks you, should I wear? You shouldn't wear. But if you see someone in the street, don't start shouting at him that he's doing something wrong, because maybe he's not doing something wrong. Don't jump to the conclusion. The same idea as over here we have. Okay. Next thing, ומקרדים את הבהמה ביום טוב. Oh, we're going to go into a different subject now. We're going to talk שלא בכוונה. If you do melacha and you didn't intend to do the melacha, is it considered to be a melacha? Are you allowed to do a melacha that you don't intend to? Yeah? That's the question. So let's see what happens over here. ומקרדים את הבהמה ביום טוב. You're allowed to use a metal brush on an animal on Yom Tov. What does it mean? מותר לגרד את הבהמה במגרדת של ברזל. You're allowed to scratch the animal with a metal brush ששיני הדקות. It has very fine, sharp needles. אף על פי שהמגרדת עושה פעמים חבורה. Even though it does scratches in it. You know, it scratches the skin. It makes marks. Oh. You're not allowed to marks on Yom Tov. Yeah? It says, so why are you allowed to do this? Because it says, it's not your intention. Your intention is to take the dirt off, to take the fleas off, to take the things off. That's your intention. שדבר שאין מתכוון הוא. Because it's something that you don't intend. And what would the Chachamim says? The Chachamim says you're not allowed to. Yeah? Since you're making... it's probably going to happen. Yeah. If it's never going to happen, they will allow you. But it usually happens. So you know it usually happens, don't do it. So he says, what do you mean usually happens? Usually happens, what's the problem? It's not a problem. Usually happens. I didn't intend. There was no intention. Therefore I'm allowed to. Okay? One more thing. ושוחקים את הפלפלים ביום טוב בריחיים שלהם. So this we already allowed. In Yom Tov, you're allowed to grind pepper. You remember? We already said that because it tastes better and you grind on Yom Tov. But I don't know exactly how it was. They had in their time pepper grinders, not like today. You had to put it in. You wouldn't grind peppers in small measurements like you have today. The small ones, you put it in here and you grind it. So you had a big container that you will have. You put a lot of pepper inside, and then you will grind it. You know, it's for a large amount. So it says, so on Yom Tov, in order to start grinding, you need that amount. So they say, hey, if you put that amount in Yom Tov, you're preparing for another 2 months, for another month, whatever it is. So I'm not going to allow you to do that. You want to grind? We allow you to grind. Use a small grinder. Don't use the big grinder for that. And he says, no, you're even allowed to do what? To use the big grinder. Yeah? And the Chachai says, you're allowed to grind. It's not allowed to, but don't grind more than you need. Okay? ושוחקים את הפלפלים ביום טוב בריחיים שלהם, in their grinder, המיוחדות לשחיקת פלפלים, that are specific for grinding pepper, אף על פי שהן גדולות, even though they're big, ויש טורח מרובה, you may preparing it for a whole month. אבל חכמים אינם מתירים שחיקת פלפלים ביום טוב, אלא במדוחה קטנה. The sage says, we allow you to do it, but don't do it for the whole month. Do a small amount that you need for now in a small grinder. של אבן או של עץ וכדומה. So in other words, use a small grinder, grind it and use it. Okay. רבי יהודה אומר, רבי יהודה says, אין מקרדין את הבהמה ביום טוב, כמו שאמרנו לעיל. רבי יהודה says, we do not... איך
הוא נכנס לנו פה לעניין? כל הזמן דיברנו פה עם חכמים, עכשיו רבי יהודה נכנס.
Yeah, because Rabbi Yehuda is going to Chachamim say, when you ask Chachamim, are you allowed to do it with a metal brush?
You say no.
You say no. So Rabbi Yehuda says, I'm going to show you something. Metal brush, they don't allow you, but they might allow you something else. Or they won't. Or they won't. We don't know. So Rabbi Yehuda says, you allowed something else, and I think Chachamim is going to say, you still don't allow that. That's where it's going to go. Okay? So Rabbi Yehuda says, אין מקרדים את הבהמה ביום טוב, כמו שדיברנו לעיל, you cannot brush the animal with a metal brush, מפני שעושה חבורה. That I agree. That I see. רבי יהודה סובר שדבר שאינו מתכוון אסור. So he holds, even though you didn't intend to, you know it's going to happen, you're forbidden. הילקח אסור לגרד את הבהמה במגרדת של ברזל. Therefore you're not allowed to brush it with a metal brush. לפי ששיני הברזל עושה בחבורות, because the teeth are going to make, whether you want it, whether you don't want it, they're going to make the marks. אבל מקרצפים. But you're allowed to use another kind of brush. What kind? מקרצפים is like wash like this. מקרצפים, מגרדים אותה במגרדת של עץ. You're allowed to use a wooden one, where it's not sharp, it's thick in the bottom, it's not going to make a srita. It's not going to make a scratch. ששיני הרחבות ואין בהם חשש חבורה. Now you're not worried of חבורה. So maybe we can learn, Rabbi Yehuda says, remember, if it says Rabbi Yehuda, what does it mean to us? That Chachamim prohibit it. Okay. The question is, why will Chachamim prohibit it? So let's see. וחכמים אומרים, אין מקרדים, אף לא מקרציף. The Chachamim says, both of them you're allowed to. Even though I know for sure it's not going to make marks. I still not going to allow you. So Rabbi Yehuda says, why? Why you don't allow me? שגוזרים חכמים בקרצוף משום קירות. Chachamim says, look, once I let you brush it, yeah, you'll brush it with metal. Today you'll brush it with wood. The next week you're going to start with metal. Exactly. See, you think it's allowed. Once we put it in your head that it's allowed, it's allowed. You're right. It is allowed. But we're not going to let you anyway. Even though it's allowed, because we know what's going to happen. Yeah. שאם יטיפו לקרצף, because if we're going to allow you to do wood, יש חשש שמא יבואו לקרד. We are worried maybe they're going to come to wood. הרמב"ם מפרש קירוד, רמב"ם explain, what's קירוד? The first thing, הוא הסרת הזבובים הקטנים. It is removing the small bugs, הנאחזים בירכות הבהמה, that are all over the animal, flying, bang them. ועושים שם חבורה כשעוקרים אותם. I think it's what he's talking like קרציות. When you remove the קרצייה, the blood. Yeah. קרצייה means leeches, not leeches. ticks. ticks. קרצוף. קרצוף הוא הסרת הזבובים הגדולים שאינם עושים חבורה כשמסרים אותם. קרצוף is moving the big bugs that are not attached to the animal. That's what he called. וההלכה בקירוד הבהמה כרבי אליעזר בן עזריה. And the halacha is when you're not allowed to use קירוד הבהמה כרבי אלעזר בן עזריה, שכן ההלכה הוא כרבי שמעון שדבר שלא מתכוון מותר. Because the halacha is actually that if you don't intend, you're allowed to. That's what you're allowed to. That's why you might be allowed to run on grass on Yom Tov. Or to move a table on your yard. Because you didn't intend to make the hole. Maybe. We're not like halacha over here. The idea. Yeah? ברם ברצועת הפרה ובשחיקת הפלפלים הלכה כחכמים. So in some things the sages won, and some things Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah won. For example, in which one did he won? That if you are mekartzef and you didn't intend to make scratches or blood in the animal, don't worry about it. It's okay. You're allowed to do that, and that's where we are.